Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Welcome to episode 347 of the Anfield Index podcast. The podcast is now starting.
Wow, that computer voice is just getting more realistic each and every time we hear it. And as you have been told, it is episode 347 of the Anfield Index podcast. I'm your host, Trev Downey, podcasting to you as usual from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm joined by a veritable bumper crew of alumni to celebrate this particular podcast. I've got Lisa Marie Hanahan, who is in no way connected to the voice you just heard. How are you, Lisa Marie?
I'm fine, Trevor. How are you?
Yes, there it is. The voice
Just
that
kidding.
tells you to.
No, my voice is pretty much back to normal. I listened back to the episode last week. Holy God, I cannot believe y'all let me talk. Anyway, but yeah, no, feeling much better and pretty much back to normal voice. So.
Excellent. Good to hear. Good to hear. And we're also joined after a little bit of a hiatus where he went off to be a professional footballer, amongst other professions, by Mr. Karl Coppack. How are you, sir?
I've been playing a bit of football, Trev. Yeah, doing my bit for the green team. Got transferred. I now play for Queen's Park Rangers. And you'd be glad to know that on Friday night we beat Man City 5-4.
Queen's Park Rangers beat Man City by 5-4. This is tremendous. Could you give us a few more names from this glorious league?
The other team, well, I don't know if the red team have got the team. They were sporting a beer gut.
Oh, lovely.
Which I think is still my favourite name. I'm gonna have a look actually because that is. Let's have a look at the league table. Oh, look, there's us at the top. Yellow Chub Marine. We beat them 2 weeks ago.
Yellow Chub Marine.
Yeah, and Sporting a Beer Gut have now
names are awesome.
They've rebranded as Red Bull Salzburger.
Oh, tremendous.
I suggested, no one got this because they're all bloody young. I suggested the best team name would be Massive Attack. But
yeah.
But no one got it.
I have. We should really fill in a little bit of context here for people who might be new to the show or didn't pick up on the fact that Karl is currently taking part in a very, very competitive league, which does have a kind of subtitle catchphrase that is pretty important. Karl, the defining characteristic of this league is?
It's called Man versus Fat. So basically, it's overweight men playing football together, talking to each other, getting fitter, and you win on the pitch, and then afterwards, your weight loss, any little trick thing they've got going on, little sorts of challenges are going on, or they go on to the score. So the score line was like 5-4, but we actually won 19-4 overall because if you track your calories every week, every day you get a goal at the end of the week and things like that. And it sounds like, it's a bunch of fat lads rolling all over the place, but it really isn't.
And with that, Karl Coppack left the conversation briefly, so we'll let him rejoin in a moment of technical horror and move swiftly to Kam Brainch. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Trev. Yourself?
I'm good, man. I don't have as many sort of entertaining exercise stories as Karl, but I do have a lot of exercise stories of late because it's very much part of my life at the minute. But apart from that, not a whole lot else. It's been quite boring. What about you, man? I know you're usually flat out at work at all sorts of crazy hours, so I assume that trend has continued.
Yeah, I started a new job 4 months ago. Settled down now to I seem to be having every Monday and every Friday off. A couple of lates in the week, working weekends. Bit of crap, but it is what it is. Job's a job, Bills to pay, mouths to feed. Eldest turned 27 today. Happy birthday, eldest. And yeah, there you go. So
And what a lovely name you gave her, eldest.
You did, yeah. I was just about to ask, has eldest left the
Musical.
building?
Has eldest what? Sorry.
Has eldest left the building?
Yes, she has. Yeah. She moved out
Okay.
a couple of years ago.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So your eldest 20s. I can't quite rival that, as you know. I know you're flexing here as the elder dada of the group, but 24 isn't bad for my rival attempt here. So I'm just going to take a little bit of pride in that. That's the thing that occurs to me as I listen to you speaking there, Kam. I'd like to get your take on this. We were in a staff meeting. Maybe 20 years ago now at this stage. It was at the start of my teaching career in my current school. And the principal said something about how, we as teachers all have a vocation. And he was trying basically to get us to do more for less. Do you understand where I'm going with this? It was a productivity thing. And he was leaning into, I think, what can often be a kind of defining characteristic about a lot of teachers. They don't mind doing voluntary stuff. That's how school sports happen, stuff like that. And so I think he was trying to guilt people into doing that. He was talking about the vocation. Don't forget you have a vocation, as if it was some thing that had descended on us from, like, I don't know, the Holy Spirit or something. And it was ruffling quite a few feathers, and I was still as yet young in the school, but I found myself opening my mouth to speak and harass him when a colleague of mine who was of more standing in the school at that point said, vocation, this job is my house and my car, and that's it. And I thought, that's probably a pretty healthy attitude to have. Probably somewhere in between is where you go with it. I hear you talking about just a job, and I wonder, have you always had that attitude to work? It's literally a means to an end, or do you think there's a kind of is there a golden zone where you can have both?
No, I think ultimately a job should never be a job. It should be enjoyable. You should want to go to work, and it should feel like a hobby that you get paid for. And I think if you can find that happy medium, then you're in a great place, and it can only be good for the mindset. And that's got to be the most important thing is your mental well-being. And if you're getting up, I mean, right now I go to bed and thinking, oh God, I've got to get up in the morning because I've got to go to work, and then I wake up thinking, oh God, I've got to go to work. But until on a personal level I can find something better, that's what I'm going to carry on doing, because as I said, mouths to feed, bills to pay. But no, if you can find, I mean, my eldest, like yourself, she's a secondary school teacher, so and I think for her it's what she's always wanted to do, it's what she's always wanted to be. And she's very fortunate that, yes, she'll tell you, or she tells her mum, or she doesn't, don't really talk that much, but she'll tell, the way she talks to her mum is like the whole world is on her shoulders, like she's running the school, too much work to do. And I sympathize with teachers, and I think I think they're overworked and seriously underpaid. People just think, 6 weeks holidays there. It's the hours they put in during the week, during the term time, it's phenomenal, and it's so underappreciated.
And also, Cam, they've got it wrong. It's not 6 weeks holidays. It's actually 12 weeks at summer, and a further 4 weeks over Christmas and Easter. So that's a good 16 weeks holiday. So they should get their facts right when they're trying to belittle us. And I've always often asked, what's the best part about being a teacher? And I said June, July, and August, after a wise colleague of mine who had heard it from. And yeah, you do earn those days off. because you're paid shite and you work hard when you are working, and it's fairly intense. So there's definitely that payoff. Now I believe you have a quote for us, because yeah.
Sorry, go on. You were just going to say something.
No, I was just going to say that the topic of work is quite interesting, because it does segue into the little clip I have to get the show going. But let's see where your quote goes first.
Okay. This is somebody we haven't heard from in a long time. So, the greatest danger in life is not taking chances. There are so many negative people wanting to grind you down, but you can't let them. If people say you are mad, you know you're on the right track.
Is this Brian Blessed?
Indeedy.
The show spirit animal returns. I'm delighted. Fantastic. It just sounded very blessed, I have to say.
It did, didn't it? It did. That's
good. And I fully agree with the sentiment. And now, in this vein, and you've actually done me a solid here, I have a little conversation between British director Mike Newell and Mel Gibson from back in 1998, I think.
There we go. You mean your mate?
My pal Mel, before he went completely mental for a while there, and was literally probably the big star in Hollywood by quite some distance. And he tells a story here to Mike Newell, who, you know, is a wonderful director in and of his own right. But he's serving as an interviewer here in this chat with Mel. But you can see the respect that Gibson has for Newell. And they both have this common ground where they've both met Chris Walken and been fucking terrified of him. And I don't mean like they were intimidated by Christopher Walken. They actually think Christopher Walken may be something other than human. Now, I want you to listen to this, because it's a bit mad.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
But it's entirely earnest. I assure you, you can look up this interview, Gibson and Mike Newell, 1998 on YouTube, and you'll see the whole lot. But here's this little chunk, this little piece about Christopher Walken.
If this is the person you want to work with. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Christopher Walken, first time I ever did a casting session in America.
Yeah.
Terrified me.
Me too.
I mean, fucking hell. I came to meet the guy. They said, he's flying in from God knows where.
Yeah, but he didn't need a plane, right? Yeah, it's like
he didn't need a plane. He came in, he was doing all the kind of Scorsese stuff. And I said, have you had a chance to read the script? And he looked at me and he said, do you like my face? And I went, yes. And he said, well, that's fucking great, because if you don't, get De Niro. Fuck you, I'm out of here. And stood up and walked out. And everyone said, well, that I think was quite a good meeting.
No, he came to see me on a rooftop in New York. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. And he floated in sideways through a crowd of people. He was wearing black. And it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk, but they glide. And he was a dancer, so he has he's very, graceful.
Yeah.
And he moved sideways, and he just sat down in the chair next to me. And it kind of frightened me. And he's a very smart guy. And we started talking, and I didn't, say much of anything about reading the script, nothing. I just started talking about the Middle Ages. And he began to talk tortures. And we swapped tortures, because I read this book on torture. And I tried to recall some of the most heinous things I'd ever read in this book. And he was like, oh, and he'd try and top it. And and my assistant was there, and he left because he couldn't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
The air had turned cold. And then he left, and I wanted to leave. And because I knew that I didn't want to work with him.
Yeah.
And he was getting scary.
Yeah.
And then I turned around, and it was on top of the Peninsula Hotel. I turned around to avoid his steady gaze at one point.
Yeah.
I was looking at a building with the top of the sixes on it, so there was a huge illuminated 666 in red.
Yeah.
And I went from that to that to that, and he started smiling. And I thought, oh no, Chris Walken is the antichrist, you know.
You do this.
Didn't see that one coming. I have to say, when I was watching this interview during the week, I went, holy shit, that's a great little anecdote. So I had to share that with you, and hopefully some of you will have enjoyed that.
But it works for him, though, doesn't it? It works for Christopher Walken. Because
you see, I wouldn't have had that concept of him, Karl. I would have thought he was quite avuncular and that type of thing. And I don't know why I had that impression, but I did. But you obviously you seem to have a familiarity with this reputation of his. I didn't know this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the wild staring eyes. Have you seen him in? Well, you must have seen it because it's one of the most famous films ever. In Annie Hall, when he plays Annie's brother, and there's a scene where he's driving him at night, and it's a very, very young Christopher Walken, but you don't want to be in that car.
Yeah. But this is two very serious-minded creatives in Hollywood, and yes, of course, they might be prone to a little bit of exaggeration, but you can tell they were both really freaked out by this guy on a level that wasn't like, oh, he's quite intense. It's not like they met Brando or something. They met a guy who really unsettled them.
Yeah.
So I thought that was fascinating. I do want us to dive
on the Jimmy Kimmel show, when they do like an impressions round with a celebrity like Jamie Foxx or someone like that, everyone's got a Christopher Walken. Every single person who's on it, because that's where you start. It's like Frank
it is
Spencer.
where you start.
Yeah,
but it's also but it's the definition. It's a real litmus test. I mean, when we were kids, there were impressionists on British TV all the time, and so there were lots of different levels of impressionists. Some of them were shit, some of them were good, some of them were in the middle. And I think Yarwood, right? But Yarwood, who features heavily in the latest Pat McCabe book that I read there, by the way, just as a little throwaway comment. But he to be able to do a good Walken, I think, means you're a pretty good mimic. I have to say, because it's very difficult. You can't lean into the De Niro things or any of the other, more extreme voices. It's tough. That little thing you were alluding to, the various sort of, it's a unique speech pattern. Yeah, and it's a unique speech pattern as well. I think you got to be good to do a good Walken. So I think the best one I heard was actually someone you wouldn't expect. It was Spacey. Spacey does an unbelievable Walken.
Yeah,
you've heard that.
And so does Dana, what's his name, from Wayne's World?
Dana Carvey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, as is Barack Obama. It's fantastic as well.
Didn't he do Trump too for them?
Yeah, he did that. He said, if you want to do Obama, you got to master the word the way he says cup, sugar butter cup, like he really was the at the end. Yeah, so but Christopher Walken is just basically it's where you start. It's like your template, and you go from there. It's like Michael Caine, like they say doing the trivia, they do Michael Caine as you sort of, that's where you start, and then they talk about degrees of, like, once he's had all the brandy and all the cigars, and his voice goes a little bit deep, that sort of thing. But that's where you start off.
Yeah, cheeky chappy Michael Caine versus old crying man Michael Caine are two very different people.
Yeah, Master Briggs. I like that.
I failed you. Yeah. So we should get cracking into some of this football stuff. And I did give a list of questions, which no doubt you've given scant attention to. You lot, you don't do your homework, which is a very big frustration for the teacher in me. But we will just proceed as if you have. I'm going to ask you these questions, which I've laid out as the general shape of the show. And I wanted to start with a little bit of Liverpool talk, because most people will be aware that today is Sunday, in which the World Cup began. And as someone who's paying scant to zero attention to it, all I could see on my Twitter timeline was outrage about whatever was going on with Ecuador and Qatar, and I can't care. I wanted to care, I don't care. So there it is. I'm not going to be talking about the World Cup on these because I won't be watching it. But if anyone else wants to, go ahead. It's not a stance.
Well,
but I do want to bring it back.
Sorry, can I just say, if look up Mel Reddy's piece to camera for Sky Sports about the World Cup. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I saw it. It was good. Yeah. And I presume she's doing that in the context of continuing to work on the World Cup, though, right?
Well, yeah, because that's her job. But if she didn't choose it.
Yeah. So that's my, I guess. Yeah, that's what I'm driving at, though, Karl. Like, there are people who are just adopting these stances, and I want to be very clear. I'm not. It is possible to hold two ideas in your head at once, and you can be kind of outraged at and understand that players didn't do this, and therefore find yourself watching the games. And there's no judgment. I'm just interested.
I'm watching it because I like football, but it shouldn't be there.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's important. I think there's a little bit of balance here. I'd love to be able to contribute to those chats, but I probably won't be, because I've started probably as I intend to go on with that, and just freeing up a bit of space in my life for a couple of weeks when the Reds aren't doing anything. And by the way, if our AI overlords are listening, yes, I was absent all week, and yes, I will be making up for that next week and the week after. I see you eyeing me sideways there, young Eddie Gibbo. Oh, and happy birthday to you, Eddie, as well. During the week, I missed all the Discord crap until it was way too late, because I don't do Discord. So I wanted to start off by talking to you about your favorite Klopp era goal and your favorite Klopp era match. And I'm going to start because I had the time of my life going back and looking at them today on repeat on YouTube, because I was pretty sure where I wanted to go with this, because I think the defining characteristic of the Klopp era has been the rivalry with City. And so I wanted to pick two matches that kind of meant a lot to me, and you're not going to go too far wrong with those. Now, probably, if I'm being perfectly honest, the biggest match for me is just getting over the line and getting that European Cup, because that meant the world to me. It always does. The European Cup's my big thing. Obviously, the league win was magic as well. And it is from that league winning campaign that I've picked my Klopp era goal. And that is the goal, which was the second of a 2-0 win over Manchester United for Mo Salah. And it comes from an alley clearance after they've had a corner and they're pushing for an equaliser. And he drives the ball upfield to Mo, who is in acres, and goes on to hold off the United defender and put it past De Gea. And that was the time when I felt as if the long-awaited thing was done. I started to relax into the concept that we were going to win this league. That was a massive, massive moment for me, and so it's my favorite goal. By the way, there's an awful lot of.
I can tell you that in the ground, that's when the cop first started singing "Now You're Going to Believe Us."
Yeah. You could hear that very clearly on the TV from over here in Ireland as well. By the way, there's a lot of pinging going on. Hopefully listeners can't hear that, because there's a chat going on in the background from the other two who are clearly not paying attention to our conversation at all, Karl, and they're just having their own. And I can hear this.
I'm absolutely paying attention.
End of December.
I can hear this relentless pinging over and back. And for the second time in this podcast, I'm acting like a teacher now. Not only have you not done your homework, but now you're distracting the others from doing their work.
First of all, how do you know that we haven't done our homework?
I just assume these things, and I'm always right.
I am offended.
Am I your favorite?
We shall see.
Am I your favorite?
You go to the top of the class, Karl. Go to the top of the class.
Wasn't much of a leaderboard to begin with, to be honest, but I'll take that.
Wow.
Listen,
Coppack, can you post a picture of your nose, please?
Of what? I can't scan my mind, I'm afraid.
No, just a picture of
Believe
your
me,
brown nose.
No one wants to see that. No one wants to see that.
Cam, it's really, really coming out now. I bet you were this guy in school as well. It's really coming out. I can see
No,
it. And
I was an angel in school. Wouldn't say
yeah,
boo to
yeah,
a
yeah.
goose.
At
I'm like
least
my
where his
little boy now.
indignance is
No,
almost
my
as
little
funny.
boy's the same. Won't say boo to a goose, but
Yeah.
I'm sure, when he comes out of his shell, he will be vicious. My 15-year-old was the same. At primary school, wouldn't say boo to a goose. All of a sudden in high school, school bully.
How old is the lad I met, Cam?
Sorry?
How old's the lad I met?
But he's 13 now.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And he was, what you met that day is what he still is today.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Hasn't
nice.
changed.
He's a nice kid.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He's a good lad. He's a very good lad. He's too polite for his own good. That's his problem.
I wonder where he picked that up from.
Would there be any danger of us getting back to the show?
Sorry, Trev, are you trying to do a podcast or
just
something?
stunned into silence at Coppack.
I think you started it, Trev.
I absolutely did not. This is absolutely fucking. There's listeners waiting to hear what my favorite match was, and you're not letting them hear it.
You just said what your favorite match was.
No, that was my favorite goal.
No, that was his favorite goal.
So,
your favorite goal. Okay,
if I could,
my bad.
If
I
I
could,
could, Lisa, you just Lisa Marie, you let yourself down there, didn't you?
may I present that as Exhibit A? Exhibit A of your lack of attention.
Sorry, I thought it was one and the same. Favorite goal, favorite match. My apologies. Please continue, Mr.
Please
Dow.
pipe down. Please pipe down, Hanahan. You're distracting the class. The match I'm going for is another City one, and I enjoyed this game so much. I think it's because I enjoyed the game so much because
can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
You said your favourite match was.
But you might as well keep. You might as well.
I'm going to
keep
correct you
interrupting.
now. I'm going to correct the teacher because you said my favourite match is another City one, but the goal was
Another
against
Manchester one. Another Manchester one.
You said
Well
City.
done, Cam. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're
Well
welcome.
done, Cam. Yeah. Well done.
Do I get any points
Fucking
for
hell.
that?
Do you know what you might get is you might get the host chair because I'm seriously thinking of fucking off at this stage.
This is
Fucking
glorious.
hell.
It's great to be back, isn't it, Karl?
I'd love to see Brainchy as host of a show. It'll just be him rambling on his own, forgetting there's other guests there, just going off on tangents on his own.
You know something? How many shows do you think I've done now, roughly?
I'll tell you what, Cam. The worst thing is I'm listening to it.
But you know what the bad thing is? I've never hosted a show.
Yeah, but you never wanted to. I offered
No,
the
I don't,
option
but that's
for you
beside the point.
to host several days. Well, then don't you coming across like you've been
No,
hard done by there.
I was just saying I've never hosted a show.
This is unbelievable. I can't believe the stuff I'm hearing on this.
What's your favorite match during the Klopp era?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Hang on, is Lisa Marie now hosting? What's going on?
If I ever host, I'll have to do it in the computer voice the whole time.
I can only apologize to all our listeners for the farce this has become, and I will try to restore order here by saying, before I was rudely interrupted by Brainch, I meant to say it's another Manchester game. This time it is City, and I had been thinking of maybe a match that had slightly more significance, like the European Cup semi-final. But I came to this one, which was the 3-1 win in that league winning season, where we had Guardiola doing his absolute histrionics on the sideline, holding up like the two in the air, because there was 2 handballs that weren't given to them, and we just dispatched them in a way that was so lovely. We were just so much better than everybody that year. It was bloody fantastic. So I did massively enjoy that. Watching that game again, and so I'm just going to go with that because again I had a feeling after that game we were doing Raw. I just had this feeling, Jesus, nobody can lay a glove on us, and that's a good feeling. I hadn't had that feeling as a fan for a long time, maybe since the mid to late 80s. I hadn't had that feeling, and it was good. So those are my goal and match. Now we'll go around the houses. We'll start with you, Lisa Marie. What were your 2?
Okay, well, you already said what I think was my favorite goal. Or that was the first one that came to mind. The one with Alisson to Salah and that Manchester United game. But I had another one, and it's that same season. And it is the goal that Andy Robertson scored in the RB Salzburg game, where he started it and then he passed it, I think, to Hendo, and then it goes to, anyway, Trent passes it to him. I just love that goal because I just love the reaction. It just was fun. It was, and I'm all for the hashtag fun. But no, I like that goal. I've watched it a few times on YouTube. So I'll use that as my favorite goal since Trev stole my initial answer. And as for favorite match, I'm not sure. It may be that same season, and I think it was the win. Was it Leicester away right after? Was it Boxing Day or right thereafter? Yeah.
Boxing Day.
Was it? Yeah. Anyway, because we were expecting them all to be tired coming back from that FIFA thing, and they just kind of smacked Leicester around. So I liked that game. That's a fun game too.
Well, also Leicester was second.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
That morning, yeah.
Yes, that is correct. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. So I think it just seems like there were so many games that season that they won the Premier League title that were just so enjoyable to watch. And it all kind of got lost because of the other nonsense that started in 2020. But it's just a shame that they weren't able to just continue that roll on through, without having to have the stop that the season had. Anyway.
Yeah, but that opening part of it, like you're so right.
Yeah.
It was just nobody can lay a glove on us. It was so much fun and just such a validation of all that had gone into the club at that point in terms of the recruitment and all the rest of it. It was bloody fantastic. Karl, where'd you go for goal and match of the Klopp era?
I think goal has got to be a season where we didn't win the league. It's Divock against Everton. It just has to be because it was actually the anniversary is next week because it was just after my birthday, and no box gifts, please. It's Brainch's the week after actually.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I was at the other end of the ground, and and I've said this before, but the funny thing about it is one of those. I was on the front row of the Anfield Road, and somebody kept saying to me, "If you're the front row, why are you standing up?" To which I said, "Maybe you should try going to a few football games, mate. It's what we do." So it's one of those moments where it's gone in because you can tell in a sort of 3D football sense that that's crossed the line. And just minutes beforehand, I have said this a few times. It was 0-0. They threw the canister on the pitch, the smoke thing on the pitch, which was purple, which was funny anyway, because they got the wrong colour to celebrate a 0-0. And I thought, do you know what this is? This is something like the Joe Gomez derby. Somewhere Joe's never scored for Liverpool. 0-0. We need to win this because City were still ahead of us in the league. We just lost to PSG 2-3 days beforehand. We need something like this, and this is where the romance of the game comes in, and this is going to be the Joe Gomez derby. And I literally thought that as Alisson hit the ball towards the pitch. So we're going mad. Obviously, it's doubly funny for me because loads of people have left the Kemlyn Road stands in injury time in the derby. Hope you enjoyed that, lads. To beat the traffic, and so we're all going mad. And then it just calmed down, and then Jordan Steffens scored. Goal scorer for Liverpool is number 27, Divock Origi, and everyone around me just laughed. We thought, Jesus Christ, we haven't seen Divock for 2 years, and now he's scoring a goal in the last minute in the derby because the goalkeeper's only got little arms. And that was just, I floated to the car, and I could have picked the Barca 4-0, and I think Divock's goal in that Barcelona game, I think it beats Terry Max against Tottenham. It's the greatest Liverpool goal ever, just with the context and everything. So I'd say that's my favourite.
Also, most iconic commentary as well, Karl, on the Barca goal.
Yeah.
That's remarkable moment in time right there because of that. I mean, that's I agree with you, but I love that Everton goal shout. Now, what match did you go for?
I think I probably will go for the Barca just because it was just so ridiculous. I wouldn't say I gave up.
Yeah.
At 3-0 down, but I thought early goal. Let's see. But it's not just the Divock's second goal; it's Gini's header as well. And that's the way he went nuts. And I saw something on Twitter today actually where someone said, "Here's Gini's goal without commentary. Just listen to the crowd," and the camera shakes a bit as well. And I absolutely love that. So it probably would be that game because let's face it, the final itself is over in 2 minutes because as Robbo said afterwards, once we got the early goal, I knew they weren't going to score. We've just won the Champions League. That's the way they thought. But we're not going to concede. This is our A defence here. There's no weak links in this. We've won the so that was over in 2 minutes really. Although Divock's goal in that is just ludicrously good, including the greatest assist in history for Joel Matip. Tracked it down with his shin into his path. So they'd be my two.
Best part about Divock's goal is how shit he'd been in the lead up to it, I have to say.
He, as a friend of mine said, he was literally born offside that night.
Yeah, remarkable.
The only thing he did, he was their best midfielder. He was absolutely terrible.
And yet,
I love that man.
And yet,
build
a lot of statue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we find ourselves then coming around full circle to yourself, Kam, for your favourite goal and your favourite match.
All right, favourite goal. I'm torn between three. The Emre Can goal against Hoffenheim at home. I just thought it was a wonderful.
It was a wonderful goal.
It was
gorgeous
a wonderful goal.
Gorgeous
goal.
The
lower main grandstand at that end as well. Pretty much in line with the 22-yard line. It was just amazing. The other one was I was actually in the Cop that night and that afternoon, and it was the Mo Salah goal a couple of seasons ago, last season I think it was, against Man City, where he just turned them inside out. It started off with a really good team play, then to Salah, and then what he did, he took out about 7 players in one move. So that one's in the mindset. And then the third one that's in my mindset is in a game we actually lost. I think it was might have been about 3rd of January 2019, I think it was. 2nd or 3rd of January. I just landed in India.
It was, Kam. It was because it was one of the few Raws I've missed. I think I've missed about 3 or 4 in 5 years. Is anyone else getting feedback like hell here?
I am as well.
Yes.
What the hell? Skype is acting very weird. Sorry, listener, if you're experiencing this as well, but we're just going to go with it for now. And if it gets really bad, we'll restart the call and give Guy an editing headache. But I know exactly where you're going to go with this because.
Go on. Sorry.
No. I felt such guilt about missing this game, because we'd been winning, and then I suddenly wasn't around to host the thing. You know how superstitious people are, so I got a lot of flack for this one. But anyway, do fill in people if they can't remember what January 2019 was.
January 2019, it was Man City away, and it was the Bobby Firmino goal, and it was just, as team goals go, the biggest thing I remember about that goal was the Trent crossfield pass with his left foot to Robbo to put the assist in for Bobby, and it was just a glorious team goal. So I want to say that one, but it was such a, and I think that was the same game where Salah had the one cleared off the line, didn't he, by 11 millimeters or something. And it's just like, oh, crap. I want to say that goal, but it was a horrible game.
It was Gini, wasn't it? Wasn't the Gini one that was 1.6 millimeters just short?
Wasn't it?
It's
Salah goal. Salah had one cleared off the line. It was Gini, but Salah was trying to follow it up or something, and John Stones cleared it off the line or something. It was 11 millimeters, stupid like that. And that literally cost us the title that season. But I'm going to go with that Bobby Firmino goal, because even though the Emre Can goal was beautiful and it wasn't such a high pressure game, but this game against City away was real high pressure, and to score a goal like that in a game of that intensity against a team of such high quality as them, I just think was just phenomenal goal. So that's the goal I'm going to go for.
And your match?
Our match, there's so many, Trev. There's been so many iconic matches, but the match I'm actually going to go for is probably not a great
Losing 2-0
match.
to Burnley? No?
What, 2-0 to Burnley or 2-0 to us?
No, 2-0 to Burnley.
Yeah, that would be a good one, wouldn't it? So the match I'm going to go for is actually Liverpool 5, Chelsea 3. And because that was the one that actually sealed the Premier League title ultimately. And Tory Fat Frank shouted at Klopp, and he's a legend for it.
Frankie the Tory?
Yeah.
Yeah, Frankie the Tory.
Frankie the Tory. That was actually fantastic, that game. It's in a season where, as Lisa Marie said earlier on, everything got so badly just damaged, including the joy of winning the frickin' league, which we've never really had, if we're being honest. You do forget that was a real highlight. That was a fantastic night. Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. I do recall that one as well. Tell you what we're going to do here, folks, because we are getting a lot of weird feedback, and it sounds like a lot of mic rustling and stuff like that really bugs the shit out of this. There it goes again. That's amazing. Right on term. It annoys the crap out of the sound nerd in me. So what we're going to do here is we're going to hang up and we're going to start again, see if that improves. And if it doesn't, what we'll do is we'll keep the show mercifully brief for you. And we'll only do another 20 minutes. Okay.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked, and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mag boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Now, just to change pace a little bit, I guess, we've been all reveling in the glories, so we should acknowledge the fact that football is ups and downs, and we've had a lot of ups in the Klopp era, but maybe some of us have had a couple of experiences which were pretty bad as well. And so the question I had asked you was, do you have a villain of the Klopp era? I did say use that term as loosely as you like. So again, I'll get us started just so in case people haven't had a chance to think and they're currently doing their homework at the back of the class. I want to give people an opportunity to not let themselves down on the microphone like they did earlier on. And so you're liking this condescending teacher tone because I can keep this up all day. So I would say, I was trying to think about it's your own time you're wasting.
Free period is for me, not for you.
I won't be in the exam with you on the day and so on.
I've never heard that one, but I like it.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. When a lad asks you to spell something for them, that's basically. So I don't use any of these, by the way, just in case.
Sure.
I don't. I have my own cliches. Thank you very fucking much. Patent Downey TM cliches, which all my ex-students will tell you. They also do. I always get lads to do impressions of me at the end of the year as well, and the best one will get a prize occasionally. And it's remarkable when you have people do an impression of you. It's kind of scary because you see these gestures that you're not aware that you do. It's quite revealing. Apparently, I licked my fingertips and smoothed down my eyebrows. I did not know I did that. Yeah, honest to God, I shit you not. That's a thing apparently that I do. 2 separate impressionists over the years have done that.
In the pod now. In the pod now. You can't go any further than this, surely.
Oh, no, in fact.
Yeah. We're in it now. So my Klopp era villain, it purely for the cartoon nature of it, and purely not because it was any great darkness, but because we were all able to sort of boo and hiss a little bit. And I noticed that some of the really kind of, I don't know where they more right on type people or whatever, but they were trying to say, hey, look, you can't point your finger, you only get one career. But my Klopp era villain is not like Dejan Lovren or something obvious like that, where people had a lot of moans and groans. And I mean, I could have gone there quickly. But instead, I've gone to Željko Buvac, who abandoned the show at a time when we didn't need abandoning. And, of course, at that time, anyone who fell out with Jurgen was obviously the bad guy anyway. So for me, that was an easy villain to pick, and it's a little bit pantomime-y. It could have had knock-on consequences that were very serious. Thankfully, it didn't really. And so for that reason and the proximity of Christmas, I've gone with the pantomime villain that was Željko Buvac. Now, I've obviously stolen Kam, so I'm going to give him a chance to think of one because I was going to go to him first.
Oh, no,
Karl,
I've got one. Don't worry.
I'll be back to you. Karl, you're Klopp, you're a villain.
I don't think you can have Buvac just because, as I said at the time, he does look like he's the new incumbent of the Poldark series. He's got a very sleepy hair. You whack him in a big shirt and a waistcoat and put a cutlass on his hip, and he's your man.
Poldark. I never finished watching that. I need to get back to that one.
What's the 70s one's better, I think.
Well, the 70s one is absolutely hilarious. But to be fair, the smouldering Irish lad in the new one is
I like smouldering Irish lad.
Oh really? We might have guessed that Lisa Marie might have been attracted to Aiden or whatever.
Can't help myself.
But there we go. Like, I mean, he's an interesting character. But you put Željko Buvac in Poldark, or as you're supposed to say it, Poldark, and you will find that he doesn't really have the requisite Hollywood bone structure and face. So he's going to be a bad guy, I'm afraid.
I'd watch.
Yeah, no, yes, I think I would too. So if we can't have Željko, who are you going with?
I don't really know. To be honest, I don't really think about villains that much. So I think I'm just because I always do, I'm just going to say Jim White because he's a gobshite.
But hang on. It's got to be within the club. There must be someone that annoys you, Karl. I'm not having it that nobody in the club doesn't annoy you on a very.
It's got to be in the club.
Oh, it's in the club. You didn't specify that.
Oh,
I've got someone, but
come on, read between the line.
Oh, fuck it, Peter McDowell.
Oh, yeah.
Peter McDowell does my fucking head. And for Liverpool. Fuck off, he's not wrestling, you prick. God, that fucking annoys me. And every time he does it at Anfield, my brother-in-law laughs because I always shout to him when around me, don't cheer that. Don't cheer it. It's cringy as fuck. Just get George to read the teams out and you can go back to your fucking small coffees and old boots. Frick. Just my fucking head in.
Oh my God.
Coppack is back.
It's the most on-message Coppack answer
honestly,
ever.
That fucking prick, he does my head in. I don't know if this is coming across.
Oh, Peter, I like it even if he does.
For Liverpool. And they all go, hey! Like the Pavlovian fed dogs they are.
I think you shouldn't have said that, Trev, that it had to be within the club.
I actually applied for the job of Mighty Red just so I could get to him on the pitch.
Oh my God! I did not see the someone attacking the Liverpool crowd as Pavlovian fucking dogs. But this is where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. This is where
said that for Liverpool.
Yeah, we got by without that shite for years, mate. To be honest, so
yeah,
and then
it's
Mighty
not
Red.
the
Mighty Red after
Mighty
that.
Red. Mighty Red's
Red.
close.
God.
Mighty Red's close. He was very close for me. I'll be honest with you. That fucking twat. He was very close for me.
I've got to tell you, my mate Steve said, "Is he supposed to be a dinosaur?" Well, here's hoping for another ice age, which I thought was particularly inspired.
Or a fucking asteroid or something.
Yeah. Or Adric. And believe me, that's niche.
It is. Have that, my dear. Have that. Okay, I love it. Great. Lisa Marie, what about you? Like, I mean, as Karl rightly points out, it's, villain is it? Like, and I tried to say that in the question. It's
Well, you did that, but you didn't specify that it had to be within the club.
So where did you go? Did you pick out like Pep Guardiola or something? Is that what you?
Oh, all right. I was, because I love everyone, and I really can't truly hate anybody except Harry Kane. But which that's not my choice. But no, I said all the officials, the referees.
Oh, well, actually, this is good. I like where you're going with this.
And you can even lump VAR in there with it. Just, that was where my mind went.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That requires no more conversation. It's a fantastic one. I think you're dead right there. Of course, every other club would say that we get all the decisions, which is quite comical. But yes, whatever. I agree with you completely. Kam Brainch, your Klopp era villain.
Okay, I mean, I'm sure many people are screaming at us and saying, why haven't we said John W. Henry and FSG?
Oh, please.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah. There will be folks there, screaming, saying they are the villains because obviously they didn't do enough for Klopp and blah, blah, blah. But what I'm going to go with is actually two people, because I think there's a connection. And Karl, you're going to love me for this because I'm surprised you didn't go with it. And that's Naby Keita and Jordan Henderson.
I was wondering if someone was going to go there when you started talking, Liverpool related.
I told you there was going to be 5x earlier. So
I just half of
that. Of course you did.
They're the villains, aren't they? Because no matter what they do, they're wrong, and whatever they do wrong, they're right in everyone's eyes. They are the villains because at the end of the day, all they both ultimately want to do is play football and try and play to the best of their ability and help Liverpool win games. That's all they both want to do. Yes, and that's it. And that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter regardless of how good or bad they are or whether they're available or not. One person doesn't deliberately get injured, never to play. One person doesn't deliberately lose his legs and not quite be the player he was 3 or 4 years ago. And, do everything that he can to represent the club brilliantly.
Yeah,
but we've got to think of his back, lad. You've got to think of his back. It's very important. He carried our club for years, did that lad. So I was actually going to say one of his goals actually against Man City in 2013-14, but it wasn't.
The one where I shouted for God's sake.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I thought
I shouted, "Don't shoot."
Yeah, and it was a great goal. And that I actually nearly had tears in my eyes that day, so I thought we genuinely were going to win the league after that game. But anyway, I digress. So for me, it's Naby lad and Jordan.
Yes, which by extension means that you're villain. And I'm surprised none of us thought of this because it's staring out at us a mile away. The villain in that case, from what you're talking about, is neither of the lads, but in fact, the lunatics who take up one side or another and batter the other side with it. So the big villain, actually, now that I think about it, of the Klopp era has been the online fandom. That's a fact.
But
you can take that to the bank.
They're not real people.
You can take that to the bank.
They're not real people.
You can take that to the bank. Yeah, no, no, you know what?
You're right.
There's an
Trev,
element
you're right,
of
yeah.
truth to that, because
Yeah.
when people get stuck behind an avatar of like, cool Firmino 759, they can say whatever they fucking want, and they do, and they're the worst. Like it's been a really dark realization for me over the last several years to realize that some of the worst humans stand under the same banner as me on match day. Some of the darkest, most diabolical humans that say the worst shit stand under the same banner as me, and that's villainous right there to go dark on it. I have one more question, or maybe two more, because this has gone longer than I thought. The first one,
Really?
I'm gonna
Really?
I'm gonna frame them up, right? I'm gonna frame them up. The first one up is about tactical awareness and whether or not it enhances your enjoyment of football. And the second one is about fantasy football. And I just have one simple question, which is why. So I want to talk about both of these things because they are things that really, especially given the channel that we're on, have real significance. I mean, there's a show, I believe, about fantasy football with some great lads, and there's obviously huge amounts of statistical and tactical analytics on the channel as well. So the first of the questions that I want to kick around between us all is simple. Does deeper tactical awareness of the game enhance your enjoyment of football? Now, can I just frame it up properly? First of all, clearly the more you know about something, then the more you can respond to the thing itself. I think that goes.
There's no experts line, Cam. You know the emails we get from Trev. I'm sick of experts. The people talk about all that stuff he's been doing lately. This is just his latest version of that.
It's Brexit all over again.
It is, yeah.
It's just
there we go, 2016.
Okay, well, let me continue to frame it up. Despite your character assassination, let me continue to frame it up. Obviously, the more knowledge you have about something, the more you understand it, and therefore, theoretically, the more you'll enjoy it. However, may I posit the example of children who know sweet fuck all about the game except that they really love a team, or adults who know sweet fuck all about the game but have latched on to the feel of what a team is and supporting that team, and they can have, and I've seen them viscerally in the moment, the greatest joy, maybe unencumbered by the fact that they know a little bit too much about what could possibly happen or is currently happening over there on the left wing, which leaves us constantly open. They're just enjoying and reveling in the goal itself. So I take it back to that question in its simplest form.
Can I add one thing to that, Trev? What about fans?
Add one thing to what?
This sort of, because I think this falls into the same category. People who support player, not team, because that is a definite thing with modern football.
That's a touch of a red herring, because we are talking about the game here and the understanding of the game.
I know, but I think this is part of it, because I think people are now beginning to less enjoy football and enjoying how their lad's doing, rather than how a team's doing.
I get that. I get
fan, can you be happy if United have lost if Ronaldo scored a hat-trick?
Yeah, I get where you're going with that. So that, but I guess it frames the one half of this debate up in a very negative light. That, because, like you said, there are also pure as the driven snow kids who are just literally having the time of their lives without knowing too much about the tactical goings on. So, Kam, I'll start with you on this one. I mean,
to that? Just very
Christ
quickly.
Alive, lad. Yes.
No, it's really quick. Karl, that person will be really happy if they triple captain Ronaldo in fantasy football.
And that's the thing, yeah. That is the thing. And it's valid, it's a valid thing.
Fuck me. Oh my God. Can you wait until the next question, which is about fantasy football?
But I just have to put it in there.
This is the most stressful experience I've ever had hosting a podcast. I can't fucking understand what's happening.
Really? You want to be Peter McDowell when I'm in the third row of the main stand, mate?
Fuck me. Listen, you know what? You finish the show yourselves. I'm going to put my mighty red costume on and fuck off.
The worst thing is I've got mates at the club and I'm a bit worried now, to be honest.
I know you have. You've gone too far, lad. I was trying to rein you in, but oh no.
I don't think I'm going to get the job, you know.
No, you're out.
Stadium announcer. Can you imagine that? Is this prick again? Look. He's not picked him, is he? Oh, for fuck's sake. Number 9 for me now. Again, obviously.
No, it should not be a bit more like, hey, lad. Hey, lad.
Yeah.
Number 9 for me now.
Oh, yeah, look, he's playing Bobby. He's playing Bobby, like. Oh, Sam. I like him.
Your phone's going, lads. Your phone's going, lads.
I've got my phone's going.
My phone's going.
Okay. Brainch, bring us back. Bring us back. In knowing about tactics, does it? Yes. Does it enhance your enjoyment of the game or not?
There was a question in there, wasn't there?
Go on, answer.
A little bit does help, and don't get me wrong. I mean, since I used to watch football in a very simplistic way, and it was like I just wanted to see great passing, great tackles, great defending, great attacking. And I used to see it very simplistically, in that the ultimate was to get the goal, score the goal. I didn't care how that goal was scored. But since I suppose I've joined the AI channel, and you know, I do have more of an awareness now of tactics, and I do look at certain things and certain formations and think about that more in the way that, you know, the team is playing. I mean, I'll give you a prime example now. When it was the 88-89 season, that's probably, you know, one of the most memorable seasons that we can all remember for various reasons. And, you know, with some brilliant football players, you know, under a brilliant manager under Kenny, I never really thought about tactics at all. It wasn't really in my mindset then. You know, it was just about, wow, what a great goal Barnsley just scored. Or how fantastic were we against Nottingham Forest when we backed them 5-0 or whatever, and stuff like that. You know, the goals or the Barnsley goals against QPR that you always used to seem to leave David Seaman just standing rooted where he was. And now I'm watching games and it's like the goals I mentioned to you earlier, they were tactical goals. I don't remember a team goal from 10, 15, 20 years ago, but I'm remembering team goals now about the way the team played. And, you know, like I can remember, like I said to you, the Trent pass with his left foot cross field away from home 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And I don't even remember yesterday. You know, you asked me about certain games, I can't remember, and I was at those games. But now, so that tactical awareness is coming into my mindset now. And that's probably a good thing as well, because when you listen to Klopp in interviews, you know, when he's being interviewed, he wants to talk about tactics. He doesn't want to talk about, you know, player A did this and what do you think, you know, and, you know, when a journalist will ask him a stupid question and you can see the frustration in him and the anger almost. He wants to talk about football the way football he feels should be spoken about. And so, I do like the fact that I do now have a little bit more tactical knowledge. Obviously, I'm not a Brundish or a Kennett or a Rhodes or a Camden, you know, to that level of a tactical knowledge. You know, some of them have got like specific qualifications in regards to football. So, you know, I'd never be like that. But one of the AI pods that I used to really, really enjoy, and I'm really sorry we don't have it anymore, was Paul Dalglish and Dan Rhodes, when they used to do their tactics podcast. It was brilliant. It was really insightful. And, you know, yeah.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents a Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's my answer.
I think that's an interesting one. Yeah, no, it's good. You've gone to several different areas there, and I think a lot of people will be nodding their heads listening, because I mean, I say that the games you mentioned there, it brings me back to when I was the age I was then. I was obviously playing football as a kid, a teenager, when Liverpool's wonderful late 80s through to 1990 sort of era team. Mid 80s to 1990. That was my teens. I think I was 16, 17 in 1990, right? So I remember playing the game, and I was lucky. I got playing with a good team, and I got promoted pretty quick. And we were playing with this. I was playing with a really good side in a pretty decent league, and I was getting all excited that I might have a chance of playing ball, and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know what I was doing, buddy. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
We didn't really train in that way. We trained in what you hear was the old school Liverpool way. Our club, the good club that I was with, it was all about small-sided games and training, a little bit of running. It was totally unsophisticated tactically. Practicing free kicks, forget about it. It's just like maybe one lad might go down with a bag of balls on his own. So I think that's really, really interesting. The game any less than, in fact, as a fan, watching it, I think I enjoyed it probably just as much, if not more. I feel sometimes burdened by any extra knowledge that I have now. And that's, Lisa Marie, I'm going to come to you next on that, because what do you think about that as a concept, that almost the more you know, the more there are reasons you have to be concerned and worried?
I think there is something in that, Trevor, because, okay, so, I mean, I've been around the game since I was younger. I never played, of course, but I had brothers that played, and so I, was drugged to the fields and, everything else. And so, I've always been aware of the rules, general tactics, etc. But it's not been but the last couple of years that, that I've had more of awareness of, okay, 4-3-3 versus, 4-2-3-1, or or whatever those, how we set up the team, and and the specific tactics, and I feel like I'm at a point now where I have enough knowledge to understand what we're trying to do in a game, but I don't want to. I think you're right. Sometimes when you have too much of that knowledge, you're losing kind of the big picture and the overall joy of watching the game. And you're focusing on, where is, where's Trent? Where is he supposed to be? And why isn't he doing that? And what, all of those different things, or whomever. And I think you do lose a little bit of just the enjoyment of watching the team play when you get bogged down. Would that be a good way to say it, in all the different tactical stuff? But there's that happy medium. I mean, again, I enjoy watching more because I do have a better understanding of the tactics, and I will listen to, the Under Pressure podcast, and I don't know half of what the terms mean that they're talking about. I'm not going to lie. But I do like, it helps to kind of have a bigger picture of what we're trying to accomplish when we're playing. So I think you just have to, and I mean, I think the point for myself is probably different than the point in knowing about tactics would be for yourself, or for Kam, or for Karl, or for anybody. I mean, I think everybody has a different line, on that. Not everyone, some people might be, they know the players' names and that's all they need to know. They're good. And more, want to know all of those specifics. So it's kind of what
I think there's a lot.
What works for you?
There's a lot to that, Lisa Marie. There's a lot to that, and that's kind of where I was trying to drive the bus initially. It's far be it from me to try to saying some big inclusivity klaxon at this point, but that's kind of what I meant by it. Exactly what you just said, which is like, you can see kids, you can see people who are at their second game and they just are taken, and they're just wildly excited. I've brought people to games and had that experience of vicariously enjoying the game even more because of their excitement. And Karl, I know over the years that must be something that you've had as well, where you're with someone who is possibly new to the team or to the game in general, and here you are watching a match with them and you see him getting swept up, and it's a really, really lovely thing to watch. And I would question then, sometimes this, I'm going to bring you back towards this. Is it more sometimes of a burden to have a deeper knowledge of the game? Like Lisa Marie says, like, why isn't player X where they're supposed to be now? My God, we're wide open. I know when I'm watching a game and we're 1-0 up and I can see there's a big area of the pitch that's completely unattended, I'm not enjoying the moment. I'm shitting myself because I want someone to run back into that fucking area to fill it. And, it's as simple as that. It's like, this, I don't mean, I'm not trying to suggest that's profound football knowledge. I'm just showing you the example of, well, that's something where I probably know too much for my own content at this point. I should be just busily watching what's going up near the corner flag and not worrying myself about a potential counter-attack, which would leave these two guys on our one guy. Oh, shit. But that's where my brain goes. And so I think I have to admit and say, the more I know about the game, possibly at times the less simple enjoyment I get from it. What's your take on this?
I think it's a really, really interesting thing. I mean, you talk about taking someone to the game. So my girlfriend was at the City game with me in the main stand, and she knows who the players are and what have you. She's been to the San Siro, and she knows who's who. And at one point, she turned to me in injury time, with like all that injury time we had, and she just said to me, "How do you do this every week?" I said, "Why?" So you not enjoy it? She said, "This is killing me." Just because it was that tense, we're hooping the ball away from, keeping away from Robocop up front. I think it really depends on sort of what you're in the game for. And I've done tactics shows, so I'd sort of try, and I've done hundreds, as we all have done hundreds of podcasts. So I am quite interested in, particularly when I'm at the game, of seeing who's knocked off, as Graham Souness used to say. Always look for the person who's just slipped concentration. There was a goal, was it the Brighton game, where there was a goal which was, if you had sat by me, you could see maybe 5 seconds before it went in, because you saw the pass that was going to lead to the pass that was going to lead to that bit of ground. That someone would knock off, and that's a goal, and that happened. So, you get to see that. I think, we're into football for different things. That's hence my point about some people aren't into football, they're into Ronaldo or Mbappe or, or bizarrely Curtis Jones from a negative point of view. Don't understand that. But one thing I said about, I was at the Southampton game, and one thing that really struck me when it came out, and I said this to my brother-in-law, is, can I just say, I really enjoyed the game. And now, it's difficult for us to watch the game because we're so emotionally tied to it and thinking, I don't care if we're bad, if we win 1-0, that's all that matters. I genuinely enjoyed watching that match. And sometimes I do miss that sense of, this is entertaining. And even if it's not a particularly good game, you can enjoy the sort of attritional value of the game, which is why I genuinely love watching Man City play when they come to Anfield, just because that's what you're supposed to be like. They're that good, and they really are. And I've said this loads of times. I would watch Phil Foden eat an orange in front of me, and I'd video it on my phone because you think he's fantastic. You do have. There are times when we are supposed to be enjoying this as a spectacle, but it's difficult because we're tied up in it to such a degree that it can put you in a bad mood, or it can turn your day in either for. But in terms of tactics, I do like the tactics because I like it when people change formations, like Klopp did early on this season for a bit, and then he went to a diamond for a bit, and I do like that because it makes me think maybe we're going to find a player who we didn't think could play in that position, but now they can. That's interesting. So obviously with the Klopp era, I'd say it's, my God, it's the fullbacks who are doing the creative stuff. He didn't come in on day one and say, "Oh, I think you two, by the way, could could feed all the three strikers, and the midfield lads could just fight it out in a sort of some-like reenactment every single game, but not create much. It's all coming through you. And Firmino, the whole weirdness that is Roberto Firmino's position, where he's a striker but not a striker, but not a midfielder, but is sort of a midfielder, and he's sort of a 10, but he's a number 9 really. You don't just get that, and it's been fascinating for me to watch that change. So I think it's nice if you've got a little bit, but I agree, too much is too much, definitely. I don't want to not enjoy a game because Curtis Jones ran 10 yards to the left. I enjoy the fact that it is genuine theatre played out by very, very professional footballers.
Yeah, I mean, I love where we've gone with that, because we've gone down, I think, every available avenue on that one. And it's, to me, it's one of those questions that I think if I was still writing, I'd be writing about endlessly, because it's the concept of the burden of knowledge versus the freedom of not having it, and it's the concept of the joy of knowledge versus the ignorance of not having it. And the two things, both sides of those two different sets of opinions have a lot to recommend them. And I guess, as with everything, perhaps the truth is somewhere in the middle of all of those, because I do notice that the most profoundly upset people are the people who have oftentimes the most deeply entrenched interests in a specific area of the game, be that tactics or, as you said, Karl, a specific footballer. It's interesting, and it's certainly it speaks more to human character, I think, than it does to perhaps our desire to know or not know a subject. Look, I can't help but notice that we've clicked around now to 32 minutes 40 on the second of our little chunks here, which you will hear, no doubt, listeners. There was a crude edit in the middle of the show because we had some sound issues. I honestly don't know what that's about. I'm going to blame Skype entirely for this. And Lisa Marie, earlier on, I'm just seeing the thread now. Well, I said we go through these questions, and someone said, we'll barely get through 3 or 4 of them, and we've actually gotten to 3, not
That's
4,
why
because
said,
we don't.
Hold it.
Yeah. So I didn't realize what you were saying earlier on. So now we absolutely will not have time. We don't have time to talk about fantasy football, but just so people understand, here's what we're going to be doing next week. I am not changing this. This is a good run. Here's next week's show. I say next week, it'll probably be a few days' time. Fantasy football, your best t-shirt, who's playing you in a biopic, what's a good book, what's a good album, and you each have to come up with a surprise topic of your own. That's our next show right there. And we're going to finish this one now on about the 700-minute mark, with apologies for whatever sort of weird sound effects. We've had delays and we're hearing each other late, and I know how annoying that is as a listener. I listen to more podcasts than anyone else who's actually currently listening to this show. I can pretty much guarantee you that. I'm not quite Eddie Gibbs listening to 7,000 podcasts at 1.5 and 2 times speeds. No, but I do listen to a lot, and sound quality is important, and I'm a nerd about it. And if it's been rough for you over the course of this one and people have been talking over each other, I have cringed every moment you have, listener. I apologize for that. It will not be that way in the future, I hope. I don't know what happened today, and I'm going to blame the medium rather than the wonderful folk I've been working with. It's nothing to do with them, and I assure you it's not a fault on my end. So we're just going to blame the tools like a good workman does, and we'll finish up by going round and saying thanks to everybody and see if they have anything that they want to plug. And just in the vein of something that Karl said earlier on, it just reminded me a little bit, if you do have a job that you really want to do, and mine is this, you gotta just put yourself out there. This is me doing that, right? What I want to do is this all the time, and I'm delighted to be able to do it with Anfield Index. And I have my own show called The Great Stories, which I would love to be much bigger. And it occurs to me that the uselessness of Twitter as a medium is quite stunning, and I've been relying on it. And it's, like I said, pretty much awful. bar the fact that, there are some people who I've managed to contact through it who've been wonderfully supportive. But if you are listening to this and you're curious about the Great Stories, go to greatstoriespod.com and go and have a look at that website and see if there's something on there that you'd like to do, to listen to. And if it takes your fancy, you might consider contributing to the website and the ongoing support of the show, because that right there, I'm putting it out there into the universe, is what I want to do as a career, 100% full time. And if I have my choice over the next couple of years, that's what I will be doing. So I'm trying to get my ducks in a row so that that's a possibility. It feels like it's a long way off now, but who knows? And the only way it will happen is if people like your good selves who are listening are interested enough to support it. So that's my little spiel. Unashamedly Coppackian there, I have to say. Karl, what about you? Any final thoughts?
What I've got coming up, we are recording the next episode of Sherlock Madlands at Amberley with my friend Paul Edwards, who did the Carbuncle for us. We've just come up to The Dancing Men, which is a legendary story. And you should have a look at that one, Trev. Actually, it's just nuts. And Some Green Grass and the Bull, it's on hold at the time for the time being. I'm trying to get Joe Thomas to write about the 1958 Welsh team who got to the quarterfinals and have never qualified since, apart from now. And I think that's about it. I think I'm writing my third novel at the moment, but that one's.
Oh, just by the by, like just fucking by the by, you're writing your third novel. Did you just slip that in there at the end?
You won't be seeing that for a bit. Let's just say that.
Can I just ask you a little? This is totally is inside baseball. Would you re-up me in the SGG group, because I got a new phone and all my WhatsApp groups disappeared? Okay. So pop me back into that if you would. That is fantastic. Go and look at From Adler to Amberley. What episode are we on now? How many have you got out?
So we've just done. We had the live show with Bert Cools and Leslie Klinger, which was petrifying, I've got to say, from a host point of view. We've just done. What's the last one we did? The Norwood Builder, which I love. Although my colleague John just kept saying yes, but it involves rabbits, because it does. And we've come up to The Dancing Men. The Dancing Men is the one. Sorry, say again.
Roughly how many have we got in the canon at this stage?
So there's 3 sets of 12, and we're in the third episode. That's it, the third story of the third. So I think we're about halfway.
Excellent.
Now. So it's just another 7 years. That's it.
Tremendous stuff. Do go and listen to those podcasts. Go and have a look at Some Green Grass and the Ball, one of the most original football websites you're going to see. We can 100% say that the articles are not in any way Liverpool related. They're football related and quirky football related, and that's the best thing about it. And we had Stephen Scragg on here at one stage, and Scraggy's books are tremendous and kind of in the same vein. Pick an interesting topic and you go and do you, son, or you go and do you, girl. And that's what we've got on that website. It's wonderful, and all under the curation of young Coppack there. So go and have a look at that if you haven't. Lisa Marie, anything you want to plug?
I don't know if you know the Ellis James is a bit of a hero of mine on Radio 5. He's a Welsh football fan, comedian, stand-up comedian. And there's a podcast I like called The Socially Distant Sports Bar. And there's a book review, and he just says, Stephen Scragg's just my hero. So I've sort of introduced them on Twitter. Scraggy, he's talking about you again, just because he likes really niche stuff like, the Cup Winners' Cup final in 1963, that sort of stuff. So that's really
that's nice. A lovely crossover.
Yeah. Lisa Marie, that's an amazing impersonation of Karl Coppack then.
I know, I've been working on it.
That was superb. You need to forget that computer voice now.
In fact, in that case, it was Lisa Marie who was doing the Peter McDowell stuff before, in case any of my friends at Liverpool hear this.
Nice.
No. Fuck you. You're on your own there, lad. You're on your own there. You dug that hole. You can fucking sit in it, lad. No, that's tremendous. As I was saying, Marie, anything you want to mention by way of finishing up before we go?
Yes, if I could, please. So Thursday is Thanksgiving over here in the U.S. So to any of our U.S. listeners, wish you a happy Thanksgiving. And as I said last year, around time of Thanksgiving, I mean, this podcast is participating and chatting with you all on a regular basis is one of the things in my life that I am thankful for. So thank you for that. And I will be baking approximately 55 or 60 pies this week. So yeah, anyway, I'm exaggerating only slightly. I think I'm baking 10. But anyway, so yeah. Apple, blueberry, and pumpkin for those who are interested. So look for the pictures.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, of course, pumpkin pie is the traditional Thanksgiving, sort of dessert. And I mean, years ago, I didn't really care for pumpkin pie, so I made an apple pie, and so it kind of became a thing. And then probably about 5 or so years ago, blueberry pie is a very New England thing, and that's where my husband's family is from. And so I baked a blueberry pie, and so yes, so now I bake all three for our family on Thanksgiving, and then actually I have baked pies for a couple of my coworkers have paid me to make pies for them at Thanksgiving. So little side venture I've got going on there. So yeah. So that's why there's a lot of pies being made this time of year. That's okay. I enjoy it. Trevor, if I had my wish of something I could do, it would probably be to bake. Yeah.
I love this.
I would enjoy. I mean, maybe not full time, but it's something that I really have thought about, doing as kind of a little bit of a sideline, especially now that the kids are older and I have a little more free time in my life. So, yeah. So anyway, possibly. We'll see. Stay tuned for the future, folks.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see where that goes. I'm really interested in that. That's fantastic. Kam Brainch, let's finish out with you, my friend. What is it you'd like to plug or mention just to finish the show out?
My mommy told me.
Don't do all of it, please. He listened. Oh God.
No, I've got nothing. Just a goodbye, folks. It was emotional.
That's okay. Just so that people don't completely lose the plot there and wonder what happened to you. Have you had a psychotic break? What happened there is Brainchie's reiterating the song that he put in a little voice note for us all to listen to before we entered the Skype chat originally. And I think now that I listen to it again, that's probably what fucked the sound from the beginning. That's probably there's something deeply wrong.
Somebody carried it on after me as well.
Deeply wrong, dude. I don't know. There's something deeply wrong there about that. It's upsetting. It's disturbing. I wish you hadn't done it. And I think you screwed ourselves.
This is the longest 1 hour podcast in history.
You know what? Could I give a shit, man? Could I give a shit? The listeners deserve this because we've screwed them over with the technical stuff. So
if they're still listening, it'll be a miracle.
They're definitely listening, man. Oh, they're definitely listening. You will be getting comments about this tomorrow. I guarantee you that. Please don't.
You maybe. I won't.
Don't let me down. Don't let me down. At Kam Brainch on Twitter. Get onto it.
Is that what it is?
All right, we should wrap it up at this. I know.
Yeah,
man, something like that. We should wrap it up at this stage. It has been a blast and it has been overlong, but we did have some difficulties to overcome. So hopefully you'll bear with us on those and they weren't too distressing for you. I've been Trev Downey. You heard Lisa Marie Hanahan and Karl Coppack and Kam Brainch. This is the Anfield Index podcast and we'll be back to you sooner than you might think. Good luck.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.